This video, a lot of people want me to look at it, and I figured we would look at it, and you guys can see why. I changed my mind. Ashes is going to be great. Yeah, I think so. So this is a video made by Lucky Ghost. This guy, we watched one of his videos the other day, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at this video here. It's going to be the single biggest problem with the Ashes of Creation faces. Here we go.
This video is going to piss a lot of people off.
Thank God. Thank God. I am so glad that we have a video that's interesting rather than the same fucking regurgitated bullshit that everybody says over and over and over. Please, let's make some people mad. Let's get some hot takes up in this bitch.
Can just imagine the comment section now. Heck, the thumbnail probably has some of you already furiously typing on your keyboard about how I'm trying to kill another MMO. But you're wrong. Quite the opposite. I'm trying to save Ashes of Creation. So hear me out before you leave a comment, because you'll likely realize I'm on your side. I just want Ashes to succeed. But if Ashes of Creation goes through with its current design without changing anything, its chart is going to look no different than any other dying MMO today. I don't say that lightly. I know how much copium some of us are sucking.
I don't think that's really something that you can determine without playing the game or even having a working model of what the game is going to be like. I think this is an inaccurate projection. And I think that it's equally inaccurate to say that the graph will keep going up as well. It's not possible for you to make a projection because you don't know anything to go off of that has any sort of tangible value.
In, hoping that Ashes of Creation will be the next MMO to rekindle our love for the genre. Trust me, I'm sucking in more of this stuff than Narc, and he's literally made of it at this point. But there is a massive problem most of you are ignoring, and that problem is you don't like Ashes of Creation. Ashes of Creation in its currently planned design is not made for you. If you are a WoW player, an ESO player, a Final Fantasy XIV player, a Guild Wars 2 player, chances are you're gonna hate AOC once you get past the first few days. Heck, I even asked you guys if you would like a game like AOC, and you said no. I just asked in a way where you didn't know I was asking about AOC. I posed the question like this: how would you feel about an open world MMO with always on PvP that you could never turn off? 82% of you that had an opinion one way or the other said, no way, not for me. And I would wager that the 18% that voted that you would want this, a substantial portion of you have never played an MMO with the AOC's proposed PvP system. And
I do think that part is definitely true, is that a lot of the people that think that they want an MMO like that don't actually want an MMO like that. It's people that aren't playing the game that think that it's great. Yeah, I think it's annoying. So yeah, I believe, like, yes, sure, there are a number of people that feel that way, and it does make sense. I don't really think that's the only reason why somebody would not play a game. And also, like, for a lot of the people of why the game is not going to be popular, look at a game like Rust. Rust is one of the most popular games on Steam all the time, and Rust always has PvP on. It has PvP on to an extent that Ashes of Creation is not even remotely close to. So, same with, I think, Tarkov as well. So I don't think that having PvP on or off is something that is a deciding variable. It just depends on how it's designed and how much people can affect other people's experiences. Players can affect other people's experiences. And also, I think the reason why people still would have faith in Ashes of Creation is because, just very simply, they've responded to a lot of feedback already with the game and about changing different things. So we'll just have to wait to see what happens with Ashes of Creation. Because I don't think that if the game has, like, full-on PvP and everybody is, like, griefing and fucking ruining the game for everybody else, the Intrepid and Steven are going to be like, yeah, this is great. I think that it's, like, the one thing that you can always be certain of is that you will have problems. So it's not about whether something has problems or not that are impending. It's about how the problem-solving process is applied to it.
Before you say, hey, I have played Lineage 2 or some other MMO where you can kill anyone, anytime with a flagging system that turns people purple and red based on how everything transpires. I am well aware a handful of you love this type of PvP. You are the rule 34 of PvP. You are an outlier. Yes, you like it. The problem is almost nobody else does. Ashes of Creation's PvP...
I also think that half of the people that say they like it don't actually like it, and they only like it in a theoretical environment where they think that the scales are even. And usually whenever you're doing world PvP, they're not even. Like whenever you're in, like look at the WoW servers, the classic WoW PvP servers. Every single one of them is dying. Even Firemaw, that was like the biggest server. Like now the only one that I think remains is Grobulus. And all of the rest of them are fucking dead. Because people don't want to play. Yeah. Why would I pick an even fight? Well, I think that a lot of times, like, I would rather pick an even fight if I'm looking to actually challenge myself and do something like that. But if I'm farming honor, yeah, I'm killing level 53s.
Is a one-to-one replica of the PvP system from Lineage 2. I have played it. I have lived it. I have thousands of hours in that system. It was my first MMO, and I degened it like the disgusting goblin of an MMO fiend that I am. What this means is I know every single problem with this system and how detrimental it's going to be to an MMO that tries to implement it in the modern day. Now,
Well, I think that's definitely true. Is that, again, you don't have to go through and make a projection with this. All you have to do is look at what happened with Classic WoW. Every single Classic WoW PvP server completely went imbalanced. The population on one side died, and the game was worse off because of it. It's not complicated. You already have an example of it happening.
Expect you to just take my word for it. So in this video, I'm going to go over those problems and the inevitable effect they will have on the game's performance over time. I will also go over some proposed solutions and ask for you to propose solutions in the comments as well. My goal in this video is not to stifle interest in AOC, quite the opposite. I saw the Archer playtest and I am in love with the world they have created. I want to get lost in that world. I want Ashes of Creation to do well, but I am also painfully aware of exactly why it won't if it doesn't address the problems I'm going to bring to light in the video today. The first and most obvious problem is that Ashes of Creation is an always-on open world PvP game, and 90% of MMO players flat out won't enjoy that. That means right from the beginning, almost everyone that tries this game is sure to not like it. But you know what they will like?
I do think that, like, yes, that's definitely true. I think this is probably some sort of sponsor segue. Let me just see.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Okay, that's what I thought. And so, yeah. Yes, exactly. Let me finish this real quick, and then we're going to, I mean, look, every single video is the exact same. You can predict these so easily, all right? I've watched a million of them, okay? I'm a professional video watcher. What can I say? And so, yes, I do think that a lot of people are going to play the game and then probably not enjoy it because of the world PvP. I do think that if you have enough metrics that are effectively disincentives for just randomly killing people over and over and over, this will balance itself out overall. And also, I don't think that, like, the first zone in the game or the first couple of zones in the game are going to be open PvP. They're probably going to follow something that's kind of like WoW, because it's not like they're going to have a system where it's PvP always on, even in the starting zone, and so everybody's just AoEing down level 1s. Like, this is just probably not going to happen. So I'm assuming that won't happen, and I think everything else is kind of up for grabs. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Who's also the sponsor of today's video. With hundreds of artifacts and over 600 champions blessed with unique skills, you can build your team and develop your champions any way you want. One of my favorite champions is the Skytouch Shaman. She is a curious champion with a unique healing passive and a great defense against debuffs. She hurts herself to help her team, so it will take careful planning to keep her in the fight. Then there's Cardial. He isn't the perfect champion for every situation, but where he's good, he's really good.
It always annoys me whenever I see these games because, like, the Raid Shadow Legends commercials and cinematics are better than the Riot ones. They're actually so good. And it makes me angry that, like, these mobile games have these ridiculously fucking great cinematics. And what about, like, a WoW cinematic or like other stuff like that? Come on.
He's a team attack champion who can increase the entire team's crit rate and crit damage at the same time. And of course, you can't forget Glazea Soul Guide, who's all about freezing her enemies and protecting her allies. Her passives prevent enemies from increasing cooldowns on her allies and freeze anyone who tries. Right now, Raid's running an amazing Trick or Treat promotion Halloween event. All you need is your Raid player ID. Download Raid with my link in the description, then head to trickortreat.plarium.com. Don't worry, I linked that in the description as well. From there, enter your details, spin the wheel, and get a prize, including $1,000 Amazon gift cards and some
some of the best epic and legendary Halloween champions. The special event ends November 5th, so be fast. You can also use the DK Rises promo code for a bunch of free items to instantly level any of your strongest champions to level 50 5-star ascension. Promo code available.
What does DK stand for? DK Rises. That's crazy. I wonder what that stands for.
For both new and existing players until October 25th. If you haven't started playing Raid yet, click my link in the description or scan my QR code on screen and you'll get a unique bonus worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion, Rector Drath, 200,000 silver, an energy refill, an XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in the game. All this treasure will be waiting for you here. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to our discussion about Ashes of Creation. After the very brief stint of starting up and enjoying a few fun levels in the low level areas, in the new world, the PvP will kick in. The griefing will kick in. It's been proven time and time again that MMOs that focus solely on PvP players never achieve more than a niche status in the MMO genre. The best they can...
Well, not only do they not achieve a niche status, but most of them die over time. The reason why they die over time is because that MMO, the problem is that you've created a win condition around making somebody else not want to play the game. And that's what ends up happening, is that these MMOs are built around like bullying people off of the game. So guess what? The player base goes down because the people that already play the game slowly quit just out of, you know, life happening. And it's like, oh, I went hard on the game for like 2 years and then I had to go back to school, or mom kicked me out because I wasn't, you know, I ran out of good boy points or something like that. And so, yeah, guess what? They're not playing the game anymore. And in the process of that, they, you know, lose those old players and they don't regain them and replenish them with new players. People turn toxic? Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know about you guys, but whenever I would gank somebody, my goal with ganking somebody was to make them quit the game. Like, that's the goal, is to do it so much and so constantly that they quit the game. And guess what? That's not very good if you make games.
Hope to do is to carve out a tiny corner of a tiny market for themselves and their players. I think AOC can satisfy both groups. I really do. I think it can satisfy the PvP sweatlords who are happiest when others are rage quitting the game because of them. I think it can also satisfy the PvE players who just want to get lost in a beautiful MMO and come together to take down epic raid bosses, dungeons, and occasionally group up for PvP content when they want to. And I'll go ahead and tell you how I think AOC can achieve this before the video's over. But here's the rub, the inescapable fact that if you're a PvE main in the MMO of your choice, you won't like Ashes of Creation. You won't like when you're trying to level with your friends and a group of sweaty players comes and bullies you out of your spot. Oh, did the community work hard to upgrade a node and unlock a new dungeon? That's nice, but I've seen how that plays out. You won't be allowed inside that nice new dungeon. Sorry, that's going to be locked down by one of 2 groups of players. If you're lucky, it's going to be locked down by the sweatiest, most degenerate PvP guild on the server. If you go in...
Yeah, this happened a lot in Classic WoW. Like, they would shut down, like, a world boss. Like, if you were not part of one of the biggest guilds on the server, you didn't get a chance to do the world bosses in Classic WoW. And again, I think the problem with world PvP is whenever world PvP becomes something that people use to take content out of the game. That's effectively what happens, is that people like there's so many of them that they can shut down a certain element of the game for the overall player base. That's very bad for a game.
Inside, they'll grief you until you leave. Griefing is going to be something that comes up a lot in this video because all the poor, inexperienced players that have never played in this flagging system are under the assumption that they are going to be protected by this flagging system. And this could not be more wrong. You will not be protected by this flagging system. This flagging system is easily abused and circumvented in its current design. And this is my primary reason for making this video. Steven, if you are listening.
Yeah, every one of these like corruption systems and flagging systems, like they will have something where, like, for example, there'll be one person who doesn't have a lot of corruption or something like that, and they get the player to 10%, and then the person with a lot of corruption finishes them off with a big spell.
You cannot recycle this flagging system from a game from 2003 without changing it substantially or adding more systems to protect the players. You must improve upon it to protect the players that aren't griefers. Because
I think the reality is, like, again, you look at Classic WoW, all of the Classic WoW PvP servers died. Like, the PvP element of them died. As in, they all became one faction. So I mean, I don't even see how this is a conversation. It's not the same system, though? I don't think so. What do you think against about Old Republic, primarily solo story experience? I mean, Final Fantasy is like that for a lot of people, too. There's no incentive. Yeah, I mean, if you add an incentive, there's going to be even more reason to do it.
As you know, griefers not only survive under the system, but they thrive under...
People say, like, oh, Grobulus exists, though. I don't think it's a very good argument to say that out of 50 PvP servers, one of them not dying is evidence that it's a good idea. Like, I don't think that 1 out of 50, a failure rate of 98%, whoever wants to go with something that's 98% failure rate? It's crazy. Yeah, pick the one exception. That's nuts. Grob is the exception.
The system.
Yes.
And I know I'm not going to say anything that Steven isn't aware of. He played this game as well. He played Lineage 2, but he also hasn't addressed these problems publicly. So either he's hoping it's just going to work out, or he's thinking the rest of the game will be good enough to retain players in spite of these glaring flaws. And I
think it's neither. I think the reason why he hasn't done anything about it is because he hasn't actually seen the way that people play the game. Anybody would know that if you're making something this nuanced, this multifaceted, this complex, that the only way that you can really know if it's going to work or not is if you have people actually playing the game. So I don't think Steven should like go and say like, oh yeah, this is how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be for sure. No, I think that they should just make it Care Bear. I know people use that word. It's Care Bear. Yes, you've typed it 3 times. And there are some people that are like, again, this is another dumb person, and I will address this very quickly. EVE is one of the longest running MMOs to this date, predates WoW, and it's dying. And yeah, it's a dead game that almost nobody plays now. So I mean, just I'm sorry, but that's the truth. EVE Omega, well, yeah, it's a dead game. Like, my point exactly. So yeah, look, the point that I'm making here is that I don't think Steven thinks either one of those things. I think that you just have to actually see the way that players interface with the system and then make adjustments based off of that. You can't just make a projection and then put it out there and assume that everything's going to be perfect.
Warning you all now. It won't. It can't be. These flaws cause way too many quit moments daily for most of the players in the game.
I think that's a very good way to define it, is that it's a quit moment. You don't want to have a game where people are constantly having quit moments out of playing the game. This is not a good thing for a game. There are some MMO players who basically they take pride in having their time wasted. Most normal people do not take pride in having their time wasted and not being able to do their quests whenever they log on. Most people are like, well, I can't play the game. I'm not going to play this anymore because I can't play the game. That's it. Like, why would anybody want to do that? So I don't think that it's not possible to have a game that creates quit moments that frequently.
Game. Now I'm going to explain why, and I'm also going to ask you, the viewer, to help come up with a solution. If you think of a way to improve upon this system to protect normal players from griefers, leave it in the comments below. So, back to the scenario we began to describe. If your group is in a dungeon and you're merrily grinding along, the guild that has this dungeon locked down will show up and flag on you. They will not go red on you because generally the punishment for going red is good enough that it prevents players from doing so excessively. I say generally because it's not always effective, but we'll touch more on that later. However, they don't need to go red. They'll go purple. Healer is throwing out big heals, trying to keep the mobs in the dungeon from killing the tank, because if their tank dies, the whole group wipes, and in the process, the healer is burning through their mana supply. The end is inevitable. You don't win this exchange as the group that's mid-pole against a sweaty PvP guild. The PvE group trying to enjoy the dungeon has 2 options, and both result in them losing. They would likely lose the fight even if they weren't already engaged with NPC enemies, because it's likely the top PvP guild locking down the dungeon. They are sweatier. They don't log out of the game. They are generally the group of players involved in all of the seediest forms of play, meaning they RMT, they bot, they do anything it takes to be the #1.
They are the outlaws. Again, The same guild that was ganking everybody was doing countdowns in Discord for everybody to spam report somebody to get them auto-silenced with the Blizzard system. And then after that, they were buying and selling gold, and then they were botting, and then they were trying to bracket fix inside of the PvP. Like, these guys are going in there, and they're there to win. And no matter what it takes, the TOS is just a sheet of paper, and they wipe their ass with it. They are there to fucking win, and that's it.
Guild so that they can survive and dominate in this always on PvP game. You, the normal player trying to enjoy the dungeon after work, you don't stand a chance in an even fight, but that's not relevant because they're not going to attack while you aren't fighting NPCs. They're going to wait until your tank is mid-pull and picking away at your team's health until NPCs kill you for them. If you fight back, you will go purple, and that is their biggest hope, because if you go purple, they can dispatch you all the quicker as they will unload on your team, which will be caught fighting them and the mobs that the tank pulled at the same time.
If you won't even have to do that, I'll tell you what they're going to do, because I did this all the time. You just pull other mobs on top of them and then have them AoE you, and then they are the aggressor, and then they also not only are killing you, but they're also having these extra mobs aggroed onto them, and then they die. That's how it happens.
You're lucky, you won't be mid-pull when the other team rolls up. At this point, you'll either both stand there until one gets bored and leave, or you'll fight for the spot. It becomes not a battle of wills, but a battle of time. Who is willing to spend their night getting nothing done? Who has more time to waste in the game? And guess what? It's not you, it's them. They are the top guild that is holding this dungeon down because they don't have a life outside of this game. They're on it all day and all night, and they live to make other people quit the game.
The moment... There is no greater reward for somebody like that than to know that they have harassed somebody enough that they stopped playing the game. That's a fact. Absolutely.
Miserable you are.
Steven said you can't accidentally flag people with an AoE. So what? They're still going to be pulling mobs on top of you. And like they'll tag. I think that the tagging system works like both with first tag and also contribution metrics. But you can't tell me that, like, let's say you're doing a dungeon, okay? You want to do the dungeon. You go to the dungeon and you see people are already halfway done clearing it. And all you need to do is you just pull the dragon at the end of the dungeon all the way to the boss or to the guys that are killing it. And then the dragon kills all of them. And then now you kill the dragon while they're dead. It's simple.
They are. It is a direct correlation for them. You might eventually choose to duke it out, or you might choose to waste their time until you have to sign off for the night, feeling good that they got nothing done, but also knowing you didn't have fun. You just wasted the 3 hours you had to play stalemating with one of the sweatiest PvP guilds in the game. They will do this until you leave the dungeon, and they will keep doing it until you decide not to come back.
And then they will keep track of your name, and they will harass you over and over and over. And they'll file false reports on you, and they'll also try to get you kicked out of your guild and do everything that they possibly can to get rid of you. Why? And why is that happening? Because they can. And that's the only reason. Why are they harassing you and making your life bad? Because they can. And there's no other reason than that.
You'll go to the second most interesting spot in the game to level with your friends, and guess what? The second sweatiest PvP guild will be locking that down, or the best PvP guild will get bored of their area because no one's going there anymore, and they'll come knocking on your door again, looking for people to grief, hoping to get a quick, uneven exchange where they can kill you while you're mid-pull or outnumbered yet again. And I'm not making this up out of thin air. These are not hypothetical situations. This is exactly what happens. Lineage 2 had the exact same open world design. It had the exact same flagging PvP system to a T. There is nothing different in the design of the PvP and AOC from Lineage 2 from 20 years ago that is going to stop this from happening. The system is
I know that there are some people that think that this is a good thing, and they think that they're like hard asses for enjoying it. But I do have to say that if you actually want to have a game like this succeed, you can't have a system like this. It won't succeed. People are going to quit the game. Mortal Online 2, people quit the game. Like, it's just what's going to happen.
inherently flawed. It rewards griefing. It rewards being an asshole. It promotes a style of play that ensures that only one group is allowed to have fun at it.
Hold on, mine was bad. Shit game, bad take. Guys, I understand this so much better than anybody in chat does. I've seen so many of these different games come and go. I've seen why they've come and gone. It is so obvious whenever you have 50 different use cases of all of these different games that never even go above like 10,000 concurrent players, or they slowly die like classic WoW servers did. This is just what happens. Like, and again, I don't need to, listen, there are some people that are delusional and they think that it's going to be fun and it's like, oh, well, that's the way the game goes. An average person playing a video game doesn't want to have their time wasted inside of the limited time frame that they can play the game. That's just the simple truth. And that's why New World died. Fundamentally, that is what these things do. Fundamentally, these things are time-wasting mechanisms for people that are trying to accomplish things in the game. And whether this is something like having to run to every single expedition in New World, having to run back to your body every single time and rebuff and do all this other bullshit in classic WoW raids or even in retail WoW raids, most people do not like having their time wasted, especially if they know that it's by another player. So this happened in New World, this happened in WoW Classic, it happened in WoW Retail, and it also happened with games like Mortal Online 2. Nobody wants to have their time wasted by one person or a handful of people and not have any recourse out of it. The games only die because they're not that good anyway. I think that you really underestimate how much a good game matters to somebody whenever they can't play the game. How is the person even going to know the game is good if they're just getting killed all the time? What do you mean? Like, that's not how it works.
Time. Now, I said earlier, you'd be lucky if the sweatiest PvP guild on the server was the one locking the dungeon down. And you're probably wondering, why would I be lucky if it's the sweatiest PvP guild on the server? My sweet summer lamb, ripe for the slaughter. You have so much to learn about purple and red flagging systems in an open world. Absolutely. The other option is, it's the RMT guild locking it down. The people, often from other countries, who turn playing this game into a job where they sell their drops and their gold for real money on third-party websites.
Yeah, this is a big complaint about Russians and WoW. Everybody fucking hates this.
Always have the best gear, they always bot, and they're always reinforced by more bots. They are usually the only ones capable of keeping even the sweatiest PvP guilds out of an area. They will employ all of the dirtiest tricks in the book, including but not limited to the ones I've mentioned so far.
They'll do anything to win, even if it includes breaking the rules.
They will also have new tricks. They will have characters that they bought up to high levels, specifically for going red on your group if you don't go away. They will run them into the dungeon and log them out there. Anytime you go into that dungeon to group up and they can't down you by griefing you, they log in their perma-red character and kill your healer. Usually quite effectively because this character is decked out. If you do kill it and it does drop some of its gear, they'll pick it up instantly, probably via some bot software that does so faster than any human could ever have a chance to.
People had this in RBGs. You know, obviously, like, I mean, if you're going into an RBG and you don't have a kickbot, an auto clicker, and a proxy, so you don't get DDoSed, bro, you're not even playing the game. Yeah, you're not playing the game. Like, this is just like, this is casual. Like, yeah, you're not gonna make it, man. Like, it's gonna be 1800 at most.
Compete against. Yes, this also actually happened. Again, I don't have to make this
Someone
up.
says that's not what happened on Farolina. Well, let's look right now. Let's look right now. How are things going on Farolina? Let's see for ourselves. So we've got Iron Forge Pro. Okay, here we go. So let's take a look at it. So this is how Farolina is doing. And where is Farolina? Fuck, let me see if I can find it. It's like mostly Horde, right? Wrath of the Lich King. Wait, where is it? Am I not seeing it? Why am I not seeing this? Where the fuck is Farolina? Its PvP's turned on. Oh, I get it. Okay, yeah, now I see it. Okay, So yeah, Farlina is 99.8% Horde. Benediction is 98.8% Alliance. Look at all of these. This is horrible. That's literally what happened. So there's no market for PvP-centric MMOs. I think that having an MMO that's PvP-centric is a good thing. I think that the problem with PvP-centric MMOs is whenever you give a person agency over another player's experience. And I think this is always the problem in video games, is that whenever you give one player the ability to affect somebody else's game experience, you have to be really careful with that, because if you do that, these people will guaranteed use it in a malicious way. And they will try everything that they can, whether it's putting 1 million items on the auction house, whether it's getting a bear druid to stand on top of the goblin arena masters, whether it's killing the quest giver for a certain quest, whether it's taking the zombies from the zombie invasion and hunting down level 5s, whether it's doing any of these things, it does not fucking matter, because it is all the same result. Every time that you give one player agency over another player's experience in a video game without their consent, you will 9 times out of 10 create an outcome that is bad for the game. That's just what happens.
I lived it. And in the off chance you do get a piece of gear, it doesn't matter. They have literally unlimited funds to replace it 10 times over, because the game is their job. They are literally selling their excess for real money. The more they keep you down, the more money they make by selling to that sweaty, anything to win PvP guild on the server. And before you tell me that AOC will be the first MMO in history to not have any bots, please spare yourself the embarrassment. It will. Every MMO has bots. It is, however, possible that AOC does a better job than AAA companies like Blizzard and NCSoft at detecting and eliminating these bots.
That would be nice.
Even if we achieve this unobtainable bot-free world that you so desire, all of the problems I mentioned about griefing are still there. The flagging system AOC is proposing is not going to work. Lineage 2 was an amazing game in its time, but the genre has evolved. EverQuest, which came out just a few years before, was also an amazing game in its time. Almost no one would play EverQuest now, and almost no one will endure this type of griefing in 2022 and beyond. They'll just quit. You will quit. I repeat, you will quit. AOC will be massive at launch, and we will all watch its player base deteriorate. It will then have a fraction of the income that it needs to put out epic size expansions on par with major MMOs today. The flagging system doesn't work as well as it needs to. It doesn't protect the masses, and it rewards foul play. It creates a toxic culture in the game where the most unpleasant types of personalities survive and thrive. But there are...
Well, I think that they also, you have to keep in mind, is that these people, again, their win condition is making the experience of the game bad for other people. So I don't think that you have to be a genius to realize that creating an experience that is rewarding for people that don't want other people to play the game, this is not good for the game. There must be harsh consequences to murder, as similar as early Ultima Online. Your red character earns increasing punishment till your character reaches a point where he'll never be able to respawn. I think that any system that you make, this is my opinion, any system that you make will be gamed and exploited. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you try. There will always be some way that people can circumvent the system or switch it up just a little bit to where it's okay. And I can guarantee you this because I used to do it.
A small percentage of players who enjoy this. Don't worry, I have a solution for you too that will make you sweaty hardcore PvPers happy. My goal here
is the solution. The solution is that you have to give people, the majority of them and the majority of areas in the game have to be either opt-in for PvP or something similar to that. I think that if you can't opt out of PvP, this is my opinion, the only argument that people make for not being able to opt out of PvP is being made because they want to kill people that don't want to fight them. They don't want to go into the arena and compete against somebody of equal skill. They don't want to go into a battleground and play with somebody else who actually wants to queue PvP. They want to have people that are forced into fighting them, that they are forced into doing something that they don't want to do and kill this person against their will. This is simply not good for a game, to make people do what they don't want to do. Because it's funny. Yes, it's funny for them. Exactly. That's the whole fucking point. But yes, you have to make it opt-in. And if it's not, then I can guarantee you it's going to have problems. Ganker's Paradise, yeah. Yeah, there it is.
To have the devs create a game that you can enjoy. I am not trying to take away your PvP experience. I am trying to ensure that AOC is popular enough to get massive expansions that keep the game alive and thriving for both the PvE and the PvP players. Make no mistake, if this game is made for the super small subset of MMO players that enjoy this type of content, it will not get exciting expansions on the scale of other MMOs today. Right now, this is being made for PvP Andies.
And also it will mean less to accomplish something in the game. Like, for example, if New World had 1 million active players, then it would mean a lot more to be the governor of Windsward or the governor of Everfall. But now, because nobody plays the game, nobody cares.
Who are already a small subset of the already niche community that is the MMO player base. And it's not even made for all PvPers. It's made for the ones who want PvP all the time with no way to turn it off. A microscope.
Exactly. Yes. Not giving people a way to turn it off is stupid. And I can guarantee you, if you don't give people a way to turn it on, and these are the people, again, I want to draw out, these are the people that think like this, right? Terrible Tank, World PvP makes an MMO. No, it doesn't. There are many MMOs that people play that don't have World PvP. Yeah, this is it. Blizzard created this problem with server transfers, and they created the issue with server transfers. That can't happen in PvE. Yeah, this is a moron. Yes, can't even spell Hello Kitty. What a moron. Exactly. These are the kinds of people that PvP-focused games sometimes cater to. As I've said, the only people that want non-consensual, like non-opt-into PvP are 9 times out of 10 garbage players who can't handle it in an arena. They can't handle it in a fair fight. So what they want to look for is people that suck so they can kill the people that suck because they can't fight a fair fight. These are people that are, you know, bronze in every single competitive PvP game that they play outside of this, but because they're able to play this game all day and farm out a bunch of resources and outnumber people, well, now they're the best guild on the server. This is just simply not a very good game to have. This is not enjoyable for anybody else except for them. And it's cannibalistic in its nature because it will cause the people that are not like that to quit the game.
Portion of the already tiny MMO community. There aren't enough of you. I'm sorry. Without the unwashed masses that are the PvE gigachads, Ashes will not receive the continued subscription numbers to put out impressive expansions. Right now, AOC is making money hand over fist from those unwashed masses that you PvP players so despise. They are buying this game thinking it's going to be their next World of Warcraft, not realizing it's an always-on PvP grief fest in the making. Oh, you think Asmin or any big streamer is going to enjoy this game? Yeah, right. Those PvP guilds will make sure that every player that streams this game is miserable. They will show up and wipe your group any and every time they please. Streamers will be...
Yeah, this is the exact thing that happened in Classic WoW. No, he's right. He's right. This is the exact thing that happened in Classic WoW, and it got so bad that everybody stopped streaming the game. Is this... And ask yourself, you know, as a game developer, is it a good idea that the people that are providing free marketing for your game are being bullied out of playing it? No, it's not.
Forced to leave. PvEers will be forced to leave, so please consider you and I on the same team, my PvP brethren. I am just from the...
Chose a PvP server, though? You are right, but you could make the argument whenever you're playing this game that you chose to play a PvP game. Do you see what I'm saying? So, like, you could make the argument with this, too. I'm not defending about Classic WoW. I'm not going to go back and talk about Classic WoW again. It doesn't really matter. But if you are playing a game that there is no option to turn off PvP, yes, you are going to have a lot of harassment. MMOs are built around streamers? No, I don't think so. But, like, you can't... in my opinion... I think that any time that you have somebody that's getting ganked in-game for an out-of-game reason, that's a bad thing. Whether they're ganking them because they're a streamer, they're ganking them because they don't like them in real life, they're ganking them because it's a girl, because of their gender or race or something like that. All of these things are bad, and it doesn't really matter what the reason is. So if you are going around and you are harassing people in-game for an out-of-game reason, this is not good.
I have already played this game. I have already seen how this PvP system plays out. I am the lucky ghost of AOC past. But let's continue. The next type of griefing is less important, so I'll keep it brief, but it's probably something that should ideally be addressed. And I'm bringing it up in hopes that we as a community can have a constructive conversation about something that can easily erode the enjoyment of a game like this. That is an open world game where anyone can walk into your dungeon while you're doing it. Anyone can walk into your raid while you're doing it. There's another type of griefing known as training, or rather grabbing a ton of mobs from other parts of the dungeon and then dragging them over to your group and dropping them on you, resulting in your death. Your group was capable of handling the 5 to 10 mobs that they had pulled, but the 20 to 30 mobs that another player just drug over your group is another story. You're going to wipe if the developers don't protect you from this. This is a way that groups grief each other even without having to go purple, circumventing the flagging system entirely.
There's also tagging mobs with certain buffs, like for example, Curse of Recklessness. This is a curse that you can put on a mob in Classic WoW that makes it do more damage but take more damage. And let's say if there's a group struggling and you're applying something similar to Curse of Recklessness on the group, well then that's going to fuck them over. There's a million ways for you to do it. Oh, by the way, this is one that I used to do. So back whenever I would grind in the Elemental Plateau, this is like all the way back Burning Crusade. And obviously, like, there'd be mages there. I was a warlock. So what I would do whenever I was a warlock is I would wait for a mage that was going to try to kill a mob. And as soon as he started actually trying to hit the mob, I would immediately banish the mob that he was killing. And then he would wait for the banish to go away, and then I would rebanish it. And then after that, he would be like, okay, this guy's fucking with me. I'm going to go fight another one of the mobs. So I banished that one too. And then so as soon as I banished the second mob, then the first mob comes out of banish. And then the first mob is attacking the mage. And then I'm watching the mage, I'm watching him cast Frostbolt, I'm doing target of target banish, and I'm banishing every single mob that he's hitting before his Frostbolts go off. So then there's always one mob hitting him, but most of the time there's 2 mobs hitting him, and he can't kill either one because my banish cast is faster than his Frostbolt. And he quit the game. Or not even quit the game, he quit the area eventually. Fuck him. Yeah. It was so fun. I loved it. You just made an argument of why PvP would be needed. Well, what if you can't kill the guy? What if he does it to you already? What if killing him is going... And also why PvP would be needed. If you have to flag up to kill somebody... Now you have to take a penalty for yourself because somebody else is harassing you. You understand? You have to willingly undergo a punishment to your character, to your account, because somebody else went out of their way to grief you. This is not good either. This is how they get people to flag. Yes, exactly. So the issue is the people. The people are always the issue.
Not add any positive experiences to the game. It's just another way of rewarding foul play and allowing it to ruin the fun for an entire group of people. My question to you is, what could the developers do to prevent this? What kind of aggro rules could they use to ensure that you can't simply abuse bad AI in this way? How do you prevent one player from wiping any group they want by simply dragging a dungeon's worth of mobs onto them? You can't just make super short leashes because then everyone just skips the dungeon and runs to the end, right? So what can the developers do? And also, what can they do to prevent people from simply griefing you until you leave the cool new dungeon node that was unlocked? Ashes of Creation is going to have 2 types of PvP.
Or trying to tag the boss before the group that's there is tagging it. So like this is something that we did in Wrath actually whenever we were leveling. And I did this off stream with my DK, is that there was one DK there and there was my group of 5 guys. And so the DK would try to start the Amphitheater of Anguish, which is like, you know, the Ring of Blood in Zuldrak. So as soon as they did that, I would taunt the mob off the fucking out of the arena, and it would despawn the mob. And then we would summon our guy, and then they would try to do the same thing to us. Except DKs have 2 taunts. We have Dark Command and we have Death Grip, and there were 3 DKs in our group. So they couldn't taunt the mob off of us, but we could taunt the mob away from them. So we kept despawning their mob over and over and over until they left the group. They left the whole area. They couldn't play the game. Yeah, it's a little fun, exciting thing. Imagine if they could attack you. Okay, so let's say they attack me. And then I respawn, and I do it again. And then they attack me again. And then I respawn, and they do it again. And they attack me again. And then guess what happens? Now they've built up enough corruption that they have to go work overtime after this to build that back up. Wow. Super fun. Isn't that reportable? Yeah, but like, what are the chances that like Blizzard's actually gonna suspend somebody for that? There's no reason. I think actually, let me see. I think actually might have had screenshots of this because I thought it was so funny whenever we were doing it. Let's see. I'm not sure if I do have the screenshots for it or not. I'll go ahead and double check. Yeah, this happened just like a couple weeks ago. Is it classic? Screenshots. Where is it? Ah, fuck. I don't think I do. That is too bad. Maybe it could be somewhere else. I don't really know. Go ahead and see. This is level 80. No. Ah, I don't have any. That's very unfortunate. Too bad. Here we go.
One is the PvP mentioned here already. The no rules barred open world exchanges between groups of all sizes. Typically, these will not be even matches. The engaging group will make sure they have more players than the group they engage with. They will make sure they have better gear. They will make sure they are higher level, and they will probably make sure that the group they are engaging with is mid-combat with some NPC enemies. The other type...
Yes, exactly. They'll do the best. And somebody said, wait, this just happened a couple weeks ago, so what the fuck? You're saying that you're actively still part of the problem yourself? Yeah, kind of. So basically what happened is that like it was one DK alone, and he was trying to make us finish his Amphitheater of Anguish quest line by himself because he didn't have a group. So he thought that what he could do is he could summon the mob and then make us have to kill it because he kept restarting the quest over and over before we got there. But what we did whenever he was trying to solo the mob himself, which he would have been able to if he had had enough time, is that we just reset the mob off of the out of the arena, and then he had to just keep repeating it over and over again. So to be honest, like we would have been fine with you know taking turns, but he was an individual player that was trying to co-opt our group to complete his quest, and we didn't want to complete the quest for him. But he was trying to hold the area hostage, so we had to complete the quest for him. So yeah, we reset his mob over and over and over, and we griefed the fuck out of him for like an hour until he left. Fuck him. I'll do it again. I'm not sorry. It was fun. Now, the game should not play that way. But it does.
Of PvP is the more organized and scheduled castle sieges, where guilds sign up to help other guilds defend or attack a castle. This massive scale organized PvP tends to be one that many more players enjoy. It's scheduled, it's all out, and everyone is there to PvP, and there's a lot on the line. Economically, the winning side makes a ton of money, and so there's a lot of incentive to successfully defend or attack these castles. Again, we know this because it's straight from Lineage 2. So I'm gonna propose a solution where everyone wins, where the PvPers get what the PvPers want, and the PvEers get what the PvEers want, one of which is to drastically improve their planned flagging system to prevent people from simply circumventing all of its punishments by griefing people until they die.
Perhaps there should be a separate meter that fills up when you attack a white or non-combatant player. This would limit the number of times you could grief an individual that wasn't interested in fighting back. The meter would eventually fill up all the way and turn the player corrupt if they harass the non-combatant player too many times in a defined period of time. This would at least prevent a player from infinitely harassing a player or group who wasn't interested in PvP. It would also limit the number of people's days one player could negatively impact through griefing. I think something like this alone would...
I think they just need to have a toggle. That's what makes sense to me. is you just have a toggle where you can turn PvP on or off like in retail WoW. It's a pretty simple solution. It's what worked in WoW. Yeah, absolutely, like in New World, exactly. Yeah, you just have a toggle. Because the moment, again, the moment that you give people control over somebody else's experience, not in a non-consensual way, it's going to be bad. And it will always devolve into that too. I mean, dickhead and ruin other people's experience, even without the need of PvP. What they need to change nowadays is players' mentality, not trying to make a perfect game to satisfy everyone, because that game will never exist. You're not going to change people's mentality, man. I don't know, like, this is not going to happen. Because there's always going to be somebody who's going to want to do this. And whenever somebody can do this, then they're going to ruin everybody else's experience. That's the way it goes. You can by being nicer, lead by example. That's stupid. That doesn't actually work. How like this is like fantasy shit like this. And also, I think that a lot of people don't really understand the brass tacks of this. Is that this is not really a problem for people like us that are sitting here at 1 a.m. watching a video about a video game that's going to come out in 5 years, okay? Like, we are not the people that will be inconvenienced by this. We are all neckbeards. We're going to be playing the game 7 hours a day. It doesn't matter. The people that are actually going to be inconvenienced by this are people that have 2.5 hours to play the game every other day, and whenever 50 minutes of that 2.5 hours is taken up by somebody else harassing them and preventing them from being able to do what they want, this person will simply make a value assessment of, are they enjoying their time, whenever almost the majority of it is being spent trying to actually be able to play the game in the first place. The answer to that is no. And that's how you lose your casual player base, and that's how you kill your game. That's just what happens.
Greatly reduce the amount of ill-intentioned griefing on the server and greatly improve the experience of the average player. Any portion of this meter that is filled by attacking a non-combatant player would be reset if that player decided to attack back. This way, we're not preventing the number of meaningful PvP engagements a player can have, just the number of times a player can grief another player. This still wouldn't protect the average unwashed masses that are the PvE MMO players, but it would at least be a step in the right direction to mitigating some of the griefing that will inevitably cause all of them to leave. And make no mistake, they will leave, and so will their subscription. And if you didn't know, PvE players prop up massive MMOs. PvE players keep massive MMOs afloat. Period. And more realistically, this next thing is probably the best.
Most people like doing PvE because most people that are doing PvP, I've always been of the mindset, and maybe this is an asshole thing for me to say, is that most people who value PvP and MMOs are people who can't cut it in PvP games. They're not good enough to be competitive in a game that actually requires skill in PvP, and so like they can't handle Valorant, they can't play League of Legends, they're not good at Call of Duty, so they're going around and they're playing some fucking game where they can buy a bunch of advantages to beat somebody who's just disadvantaged. Yeah, over level and trample people. Yes, this is what most MMO PvPers are, in my experience.
Solution, and it's simple.
Like, wow,
it's effective.
right.
It's not reinventing any wheels, and there really aren't any downsides. Perhaps the developers should just consider 2 types of servers: AOC PvE servers and AOC PvP servers. Let the PvPers that have been furiously listening to this YouTube video with steam coming out of their ears at the mere thought of turning this game into some kind of disgusting Care Bear MMO, let them keep their PvP-centric AOC game just the way it's been designed. But also create a version of this game that will appeal to far, far more players. A version
I think having PvE servers would probably be a good idea too. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. He's describing himself. Well, yeah, I remember I was really good at WoW PvP, and then I did PUBG and I got fucking destroyed. That was a reality check. I thought I was better than everybody else. I'm like, holy shit, I suck at video games. Yeah. The same thing happened to me. Yeah, I think that they should just make PvP server or PvE servers if this is going to be an issue. if this is a system that has to exist.
Game where you can't attack a player unless they've opted into PvP. The PvE servers would still have plenty of PvP content. PvE servers would still have sieges, wars, caravans, dueling, etc. Tons of opt-in PvP. But you would not be able to as easily grief other players into quitting the game entirely. You wouldn't be able to ruin other people's dungeon experiences. You wouldn't be able to do the same during raid.
You still would be able to ruin other players' dungeon experiences. There's plenty of griefing that you can do.
Or maybe you do something completely different and you have specific areas that are PvP on and areas that are PvP off on one server. Some nodes are PvP, some nodes are PvE. Some dungeons allow it, some don't. But the fact is, if you don't give the PvE players that have no interest in griefing other people...
Hold up. Somebody said what you said made no sense. You control in PvE. So what did I say that didn't make sense? I want to find out right now. What did I say that didn't make sense? Let's get a PvP. Let's get a PvP mind on here. Yeah, we're gonna see. You can grief and troll in PvE. The fact that you act like PvE is pure and non-griefable. When did I ever say that you couldn't grief and troll in PvE? Whenever I just use an example of myself griefing and trolling somebody in PvE content in Wrath of the Lich King less than a month ago. When did I ever say that? What about pulling mobs on top of other people fighting existing mobs? Is this PvP or is this PvE? Which one is it? Come on. So if someone's body in WoW and it's PvE, I can't kill them, do I keep playing? Wait, 1 second. Let me read this again. So if someone's botting in WoW and it's PvE and I can't kill them, do I keep playing? What? I don't understand. Smartest PvP player. Yeah, exactly. Smartest MMO PvPer. There you fucking go, man. Holy shit. It's sad. 3-year-old take. Yeah, I mean, again, these people just don't understand, like, anything. It's actually sad. Permabanned? Yeah, but he's a fucking idiot. He's putting... Anybody who puts words in my mouth will get permabanned. I never said that.
Into quitting and have no interest in being the player that is griefed until they quit. If you don't give these players a way to play the game, or if you don't come up with a better plan to protect them from the bad apples, you're gonna watch as griefers destroy your player numbers. You're gonna watch as the launch is marred with negative headlines and a mass exodus from the game. Players complaining about dying and dropping their loot. Players complaining about being camped. Players complaining about not being able to go solo in the new cool areas you added, or group in the newly unlocked nodes because they just get griefed when they go to these places anyway. I know this video probably angered a lot of you, but remember, I'm trying to help AOC, not kill AOC. I'm here to stop the griefing. I'm not here to stop the PvP. There's a massive difference there, and I hope that's what you focus on. I selfishly want this game to succeed so that I can get lost in it for months and for years. I want it to do well so that I can make content about it for months and for years, but I am also a realist. I know that sucking in the copium and pretending that a PvP-centric MMO is going to be just fine and do well is a lie, and I know what's happened to every PvP MMO ever released. Their expansions are small, their lives are short, and their declines often very rapid. And I don't want to see that happen to AOC. There needs to be a version of this game that appeals to and maintains the attention of the PvE player. If not, then I guess there's always that Riot MMO, right boys? Suck down that copium. Sound off in the comments below. I really hope you try to come up with solutions instead of attacks. It doesn't matter how much you hate PvE Care Bears or sweaty PvPers, but if you type out a comment with a proposed solution, you could be the person that saves AOC. So go and try, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get a version of this game that PvPers and PvEers alike can enjoy. The purpose of this video is to start a discussion around Ashes of Creation's Achilles heel, the obvious problem and the obvious hill that it's going to have to climb upon its release. And if we talk about it now while it's in its alpha, early alpha, long before it's released, it has a much better chance of making the adjustments needed to appeal to a broader player base and to having better more filled out expansions as the game goes on.
My opinion is I don't think they should change anything. They shouldn't do anything. They should wait and put the beta out and see what people do. Because, like, I don't think that you shouldn't write checks. You know, we shouldn't write blank checks. Let's see what people do in the game. Let's see how the system works, and then iterate off of that. They can always add PvE servers later. They can always add a toggle later. They shouldn't start it with that. Bring it out in the way that you think it'll work. Have the players play the beta, and if it sucks, then change it. I think that makes sense.
All I want for the game is to have its best chance of maintaining its player base, because I love what I've seen so far. I love the world that it's in, and I can't wait to get lost in it. I am not trying to change this into a Care Bear PvE game, and that's why I think maybe one of the best solutions is to leave the game as it was designed for the PvPers that want that hardcore PvP experience always on, and maybe something else, maybe another server for the PvEers. And I know there's going to be a lot of comments from PvPers saying just get good or just don't play the game, and that's fine. That's what a lot of people will choose to do if the game comes out.
Yeah, that's not as good as you think it is whenever everybody stops playing your game. You make stuff up to support yourself, though. 10 minutes ago you said New World's dead because of the PvP. Are you okay? I said that New World was dead because of the PvP. When did I say that? I never said that. You're banned. Don't put words in my mouth. What are you doing? I'm telling you guys, like, yeah, if you do that, I'm just going to ban you. I'm not going to have to address your misconception.
As it's currently designed, they just won't play it. A massive shout out to my YouTube members. Thank you for supporting this channel in the big way that you do, and for helping me make the best content that I can. If you want to become a YouTube member, click the join button down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and a subscribe for Algorithm Senpai. And if you're not sure what to do next, check out one of the videos popping up on screen right now.
There it is. I think this is a pretty good video. It's a necessary video and a necessary conversation. I'm really glad that he made this video. I know, obviously, making a video like this can attract attention from a lot of Malders who want to, again, farm bad players that don't want to PvP against them because they can't handle it in a real game. I think this is absolutely true. We've seen a number of them in the chat. And so make sure to give it a like, give this guy a sub. This is the second video of his that we've watched, I believe, and I think that it was really good. I like this video a lot. I think he brought up a lot of good points. But I do think that the best thing for Ashes of Creation to do is to actually just go and release it and see how players adapt. Steven commented on the video. Let's go ahead and let's read the comments. Just a few points I'd love to add. This is Steven. He's the main guy for Ashes of Creation. Much of Ashes' corruption system has been taken into account in these concerns. In my experience with similar flagging systems, such as that as Lineage 2's, there were very apparent flaws in the implementation. Some of the adjustments that have been made for Ashes' approach to open world flagging system is as follows. Abilities with CC effects do not apply to non-combatants. The target of a CC ability must be flagged in order to suffer the CC effects. This prevents players from opening attacks that can stun players during a pull. For example, corruption gain. So abilities with CC effects do not apply to non-combatants. Oh, okay. So you can't just like stun a tank the moment that somebody pulls the boss. Okay, that's good. You can still attack the tank, right? Or you can dot the tank, or, you know, put a mortal strike on the tank. I feel like there's a lot of other things that you can do that are not necessarily a CC. Corruption also takes into account level disparity between the player killed and the one corrupted. The greater the disparity, the higher the corruption accrued. I think that makes sense, sure. PK also be highly ineffective, since acquiring corruption will also apply dampening effects on skill damage. For PvP, the higher your corruption score becomes. Working off corruption Working corruption off through experience grinding takes significantly longer than Lineage 2, and during that time we've created a bounty system that reveals corrupt players' locations around the map. It's true that Ashes is a PvX game. That means it won't be for everyone, and that's okay. Testing will further refine our approach for corruption, but as a system it's core to introducing risk versus reward in Ashes while disincentivizing griefing. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM or in Discord or on Twitter. I think that's pretty fair. And again, I think that, again, they just need to bring it out and test it and see what's going to happen. Because, yeah, I don't think Steven should just be like, oh, okay, well, because of this video, we're going to change the entire fundamental of the game. Because we don't really know how the fundamentals of the game are going to actually play. We have no idea. So let's actually see how the game plays and then adjust based off of that. I think that's the smart thing to do. There it is, not for everyone. Well, what I'm saying is that a game that allows griefing will not be for everyone. It won't be for anyone. These games just die. That's what happens. Griefers can't grief as much as they do because of dampening, and people who are griefed, are griefed anyway, just a little bit less. Well, we'll have to see what it actually looks like. But yeah, I don't think that they should change anything based off of like feedback. I do think that in a grand scheme of things, I don't see a negative with having a PvE server. I don't see a reason why people don't have the option to play the game on a PvE mode. I don't understand like how that could possibly be a bad thing. At least he's out here responding, and that's cool. Yeah, it's a conversation. I think that's all it comes down to. The game's built around PvP, not sure it would work. I think that, you should at least try it out. And this is, again, what I'm saying before. You should at least keep trying it out. Don't make Ashes a creation a PvE Care Bear game. People use that word. I don't think it's Care Bear. I think it's people that have respect for their own time. Nobody wants to have their time wasted constantly playing a video game. The only people that do that are people that play the games 12 hours a day, and they can afford to do that. Most people don't have time to just have their time wasted constantly. Don't play an MMO. If you play an MMO, you do want that. So if you play an MMO, you have to want other people intentionally sabotaging your time in a non-consensual way. That's stupid. That's so stupid. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, it's just like these. I love how this is this. You know what this reminds me kind of? It reminds me a lot of like how Blizzard said that what is an MMO or an RPG if you can't make decisions that had great cost to your character, like covenants. Is that there's a lot of these people that have these ideas of like what an MMO is in their head, and they're so attached to the idea of what they believe an MMO is that then they act like any MMO can't be an MMO if it doesn't have these things. And it's just simply not true. Yeah, and Ian was proven to be wrong because everybody quit the game. Because actually you can have an MMO where you can just reverse choices and it doesn't matter. Contrary to what they all believed. Using very bad examples? Well, what example am I using that was bad? Lineage 2 was very... What about my example was bad? We'll address a couple more comments here, and then we're going to move on and we're going to watch something else. Yeah, why is it a bad example? What about it is a bad example? Let's find out. Ban is called out. Yes, you're being called out right now, Sanctum. Is this going to be another perma? Well, maybe not. We'll see what happens. Final Fantasy 14 trailer? Yeah, we'll watch it after this. I forgot to take a look at that. I'll get it. He's on the stand. Yep, there we go. It's going to be happen. It was solid. Yes, there are a lot of these ideas that people have because, let's see here. Because you can't throw in a small RPG B shit and pretend it's RPG because of it. What? Can you try to try to rewrite that in a... Please try to rewrite that in English. Yeah, can you try and do that? Let's see how these people real. As I said, the people that defend these systems, they're knuckle draggers, man. All of them. They're just morons that want to fucking bully other players because they're bad at video games whenever they get put in the same fucking playing field. Every time. PvP brain rot. Alright, let's see what he says. If you have removed all elements of it from the beginning. Oh my god. War mode is gay. Yeah, this is somebody who doesn't like it. It's nuts, man. You know, what the fuck is he even talking about? Sentence doesn't make sense. That's because the people that like these kinds of games are most of the time brain dead. Like, that's just the truth. Most of the people that like these kinds of games where you can just fucking overpower other people with really good gear, these are brain-dead morons that can't win in a fair fight. And again, that's so wrong. Damn, it's so wrong. And how is it so wrong whenever every single person coming out telling me that I'm wrong about it can't even explain how I'm wrong? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not asking somebody to fucking come out with anything else. You can't even articulate a sentence. They're fucking morons, man. You're choosing the worst people on purpose? Okay, let's choose you. Okay. All right, we're going to choose you. You've just been chosen. Here we go. All right. Let's go. You're describing your take. Why is my take terrible? Let's go. You've chosen the worst people on purpose? Let's go. Let's hear it. Here we go again. We'll give him a second to respond. Pick me, please. So PvP has a big element of anti-PK. What do you mean by that? Do you mean by the corruption system? I think that is the implication, but we don't know the extent of it. Yes. I mean, I think PvP fundamentally is PK. Because PvP is PKing. I don't understand how this would make any sense. Like, guilds and stuff establish themselves to help smaller groups of players. Like, I love PvP, but I'm not a knuckle dragger. I just enjoy competition. Guilds and stuff establish themselves to help smaller groups and players. That didn't happen in Classic. I mean, like, maybe there's, like, some other fucking guild or whatever that does this, but I mean, that's not what happened. Saying PvE players aren't talented enough to play God of War, so they just click mobs on MMOs. PvE players aren't talented enough to play God of War, so they just click mobs on MMOs. Yeah, I think most MMO players are garbage. I think that if you took, you know, 1,000 average gamers, and then you took 1,000 MMO-specific gamers, I think that the MMO-specific gamers would be worse on average. Yes, I believe that. I've fucking done Nax too many times to not believe this. Let's see if there's any more responses. But I have griefing. Typically join white guilds that help keep the PvP system honest, like it did in Dark Age of Camelot. No, I think we are just addicted to gaming, so we want a never-ending experience. Well, if you have a PvP experience where people are able to destroy somebody else's experience without their consent, you will not have a never-ending experience. It will be very short. That's what happens. White guilds. Yeah, well, what he's implying is like the idea that they're going to go out of their way to like help and protect people. I can tell you one thing. I've never experienced that in Classic WoW. I've never heard of that at all. The only thing I've heard of is just guilds that are... See, the reason why the white guilds never are going to beat out the bad guilds, right, is because there is a bigger reward structure for ruining somebody's fun than for preserving it. That's all there is to it. That's why whenever I would go out of my way and people would protect me in the game, there would be always more people who wanted to kill me in the game than protect me in the game, because it was a bigger reward. It felt better to actively fucking stop me from doing something in the game. It just makes sense. People don't want to admit that casuals keep the game alive, whether sweaties like it or not. Yeah, I think that's true. Even if it's true, White Guild will be in the minority. Yes, they absolutely will be. It will be a vast minority. Again, guys, I mean, I don't, like, here's the thing, is that I don't really care about this, because whenever the game comes out, I'll play it for however long I play it, and I'll do what I end up doing, and then I'll move on or do something else. Now, I'm not attached to this in the same way that some other people are. If they want to make the game some PvP-centric thing where people just keep getting ganked all the time and nobody's able to play the game, that's not my fucking problem. There's going to be a million other games out, and I'll just play those instead. It's not a big deal. All I'm saying is that this is what I think is going to happen based off of what I think has happened in the past. I didn't get banned? No, I mean... there's no reason really for you to get banned. There's nothing, like, I think that the person that I said, he mainly took offense to the fact that I said that most PvPers in MMOs are knuckle draggers, which is like, I can see, I'm an asshole, of course, I believe that. I absolutely believe that. Most people that play PvP in MMOs are garbage players. Literal fucking trash that would only win a fight over somebody with less gear than them. However, I can see why somebody would take that personally. So sure.